The big X factor tonight, you really got to consider it, is how is Donovan Mitchell going to perform outside of his city? Psychos and sickos unite for a Jalen Green is back again edition of the PHNX Suns pregame show. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. I'm Eric. That's Gil. We got Espo and the freckled Mamba behind the Mac. Making all of the magic happen is Jalen Green. Stop me if you've heard this before. Is returning after being on the injury report. We'll talk about that. We'll preview, of course, what Cleveland is bringing. We'll talk a little mortgage beef, but how are we generally feeling coming off of a Dillon Brooks masterclass on the first night of a back-to-back?
I would like to make a promise to everybody here, the two of you, everybody watching at home. No nail polish, none in my pocket. We're nail polish free tonight. Hopefully the curse is broken.
There you go. I feel good now that the curse is broken. You know, good to see Jalen Green back. I know we kind of anticipated it last night. We asked if we thought he would be back for this game, and we all kind of agreed that we probably would see him and that every other day cadence can start. So let's get it going tonight.
Yeah, it makes sense that he's back tonight. Let's go ahead and get into the injury report, of course, brought to you by our friends over at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've been in a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at husbandwifelawteam.com. Only Devin Booker on the injury report for the Phoenix Suns tonight, out with a right ankle sprain. No Mark Williams on the injury report at all. No designation for him on the second night of a back-to-back. And Jalen Green not on the injury report. And Colin Gillespie not on the injury report. We'll get to the Cavs here in a second. But Jalen Green is back. Espo's not wearing nail polish. We're only doing a watch-along tonight because we've always done it for his first game back. We are not doing a watch along for his second game back on Sunday.
We're learning from our mistakes.
We are doing live another time, though. Are we risking it?
That's All-Star. That's
okay.
early. It's not
all
during.
right.
You will not be able to see our live reaction to him. Now, we should get the injury report rolling in here, or not the injury report, the starting lineup rolling in here for a second. But it's good news that he's not even on the report at all. And we'll talk about Colin and Mark in a second. But what are your guys' expectations for Jalen Green? Do you think he comes off the bench again tonight?
So I talked to the same former NBA trainer that we had on and interviewed previously, and he said that's actually a strategic thing that a training staff will do when a guy's coming back. And so, like we talked about, if he's on a minutes restriction, he will play at the end. I actually think it was Eric that brought that up the last time we were talking about it, and he did confirm that that is a strategic move for these teams. So it would not shock me if, again, he's coming off the bench until they feel comfortable that he's fully healed.
Right, and I think this has the makings of being a game that goes down to the wire. We saw that in, I guess, Philadelphia, where he came back and they managed his minutes the right way to where they could kind of have him when they needed him. So I would expect the same. I would expect the same kind of workload from him tonight as well. I honestly expect him to pick up where he left off, and he did it in Atlanta. He just felt a little discomfort, and the fact that he's back exactly a week later kind of confirms that we thought that something just didn't feel right rather than something actually getting injured.
Now, I do know that a lot of people thought that, hey, maybe he should be starting. That's just kind of normal for him. It was the first time he had ever come off the bench in his career against Philly. Well, he is coming off of the bench tonight. Colin Gillespie back after being on the injury report and returning last night. Grayson Allen, Dillon Brooks, Royce O'Neal, Mark Williams. Now, we know that he's back and now he's coming off of the bench. The real question is, how many minutes does he play?
I'm guessing 20 to 25. It kind of depends on how this game goes, right? I mean, if they're getting blown out, he's playing 15 because they're not gonna push him. But I think at some point you're just gonna have to go, you know what? 20, 25, and then get up to 30 that next game and just see how it goes, because this isn't something that's going to, go away. There's still the chance of re-injury with it. He just has to get comfortable being out there and figuring it out.
My gut says somewhere between 18 and 22, but I mean, obviously 22 fits within that same range as well. So I'm curious to see, obviously, like the bursts and how long those bursts are. Like, do they put him in after the first media timeout? They put him in midway through the first quarter. Does he play all the way through the end of the first quarter? A lot of those things kind of stick in my mind, because when he did come in, both games, he came in and basically immediately made his impact as far as getting downhill, getting to the free throw line, and setting people up as well. So it will be very impactful. We know that he can do a lot in short amounts of time. So I'm curious to see, how that starts at least.
I think it's interesting because it almost feels like a mental game with him now at this point. And sure, coming off the bench maybe physically is the right thing to do, but how much of this now is, okay, I got to like overcome the feeling of like, okay, there's something there. There's something going on. Now, I'm not obviously questioning that he didn't have some sort of tightness. He clearly did. He looked a little weird, but it's like, if going into it, okay, I'm on a minutes restriction and I'm coming off of the bench, are you going to be able to fully trust yourself? Are you going to be able to fully trust yourself? Because we saw him do that and then again, get that tightness. I know that everybody's going to freak out if he doesn't finish this game or if he doesn't look right, but I don't know what the right approach is for him, because clearly this hamstring is super tricky, but we've seen him when he's on, take threes, hit them, drive to the paint, be quick. And I think that's the encouraging factor to me, is that even after that hamstring got tight last game, he broke Luke Kennard's ankles. Now that's like breaking my ankles, because Luke Kennard's not exactly the most laterally mobile defender in the world, but that makes me feel like, okay, he can still trust himself, but how far can that trust go if your hamstring doesn't go with it?
You could give yourself more credit. Haven't you actually broken your ankles?
I've torn ligaments in both of my ankles.
So you got to give yourself a little bit more credit when it comes to that. But I think he has to just go out there, and I don't think he can mentally hold himself back, because I think that's more likely when he's going to get hurt. I think the mindset, and it's much easier said than done, so I don't want to downplay, but the mindset needs to be, I'm going to go out there, and if I get hurt again, I get hurt again. But I'm going to go out there and be Jalen Green, because anything less than that is just a disservice to myself.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You said the same thing about the team too, right? Like, not that they're putting kid gloves on it, but like at a certain point, he's either going to get hurt or he's not, and he's going to have a breakthrough at some point. And think the same thing is for him mentally. And I talked with this, Steven and I talked about this with Tim Legler, and he said, look, it's really difficult to fully trust yourself and trust your body when you get back out there, but the only way to do it is to just not think about it. And after multiple setbacks, it's really hard to not think about it, but ultimately he is his best self when he's not thinking about it. And we've seen in that first game back, when he's playing without any mental constraints, he plays freely and plays well. So maybe limiting the minutes allows him to play freely. Also trusting the training staff that they wouldn't put you out there if you were vulnerable. I think that's a big thing as well. So I think just going hard, because as you said, Espo, when you're playing tentatively, you, in a weird way, make yourself more susceptible to injury.
I think another thing mentally with him to kind of keep an eye on tonight is this is the first time he'll be playing without Devin Booker. Right. And we've seen, obviously, Dillon Brooks step up in that, Colin Gillespie, Grayson Allen step up in that. Well, I'm sure Jalen Green's going to feel a little bit more pressure when he's going to be out there, and especially when he's on the court with the ball in his hands, injury or no injury, he's going to be a primary focus of the defense, right? Because either they're going to try to force him and make him kind of test that hamstring or attack him on defense. And they're like, okay, this is the most explosive guy on the court. We saw Dillon Brooks drop 40. We've seen Grayson Allen drop 40. We've seen Colin Gillespie get 4-point plays. You're still the guy that we're most worried about with the ball in your hand. So how does he handle that without Devin Booker is a really big test for him tonight.
I think finding a lot of confidence in what he watched last night. He watched these guys step up against one of the premier defenses in the league, if not the premier defense in the league. And he's had a front row seat to it all year. So I think trusting his guys, like there's so much trust here, so much trust as far as the mental stuff, trusting yourself, but also trusting your guys to make life easier for you. And we've also seen how he makes life easier for everybody else. We've seen the way that he and Oso play off of one another, and I expect them to set people up as well. So I think that the big trust thing, and I'm pretty sure that's probably the conversation that the coaching staff has had with him, listen, don't do too much. Just go out there and play your game. Let the game come to you. Don't force anything. And I think that should be fine. But again, easier said than done. So it's a very difficult thing for him to come back with no book against a red hot team and one of the teams in the Eastern Conference that has championship aspirations.
Yeah, I was concerned about him coming back without book because he was going to feel like maybe he needed to do everything. To your point, I think last night takes some of that pressure off as well, and I think that's important. I also wonder if it might be a little easier on Jalen too to come back without book, in the fact that he can be the number one option. He can go out and kind of get in a rhythm, knowing that it is kind of like what he did in Houston, that he's going to get more looks, and maybe that gets him in more of a rhythm before Book comes back.
Look, even beyond Jalen, this is going to be an interesting game tonight. This is a Cavs team that beat the brakes off of the Suns the last time they played on the road, but can the Suns pull off wins against two of the better teams in the East on back-to-back nights? Well, we're going to get into everything with it with our credit check, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Mountain America Credit Union, the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns, and also Iguodaro, who's not a part of our credit check. Now, when you talk about Cavs, Suns, Espo, the Mortgage Beef Bowl has always kind of been something that we've talked about. I'm sad to inform you, though, that Matt Ishbia on with Zach Lowe earlier today, which was great, 30-minute conversation you should check out on YouTube, was asked, what's that relationship like between you and Dan Gilbert? And it's not what you would have expected.
It won't happen again.
Has there been any thawing at all in the Matt Ishbia, Dan Gilbert feud?
Yeah, Dan. So listen, Dan and I, extremely competitive. He's not as involved with his business anymore. We're the biggest mortgage company in the country now for 4 straight years, so they don't probably like that. But the truth is, he's a nice man. We're not fist fighting when we see each other. We shake hands, say hello. And I want him to be successful, just not in the mortgage business. And obviously, when we play their basketball team, I want to beat their basketball team. I don't have it's not like this, we're going to see each other and we're going to fight. We're fine. I like him. He's always respectful. His kids are respectful. He's nice to my kids. We have a good relationship. People oversell it, but we do want to beat him in the mortgage business, and we have for 4 straight years.
Well, so
4 straight.
I don't want him to succeed. I don't want him to succeed in his business. I don't want him to succeed in his secondary business. But the rest of his life, go ahead.
Well, he's a nice
kids are
man.
nice.
He's a nice man. We've kicked his ass in the mortgage business for 4 years in a row, but he's a nice man.
Well, yeah,
I love that he snuck that in twice too.
Yeah.
You don't have to want to physically fight somebody to have beef with them, right? That is not the definition of it. And I actually love that. I love that he was like, I'm going to try to give you the PC answer, while also making it very clear that I want to destroy this man on every business field that I can compete on him with. You can't tell me that he's just going to let go of the fact that he was the one NBA owner that didn't vote to approve Matt Ishbia there. That, he sued him on multiple occasions in his other business. There is a competitive fire, I guarantee, between these two gentlemen, whether they want to actually fist fight or not. And I really don't think billionaires should be fist fighting, because none of them look like they're capable of it.
It would be pretty funny, though.
I think that's why they should fist fight. I think that's the way to really figure things out here. But beyond the mortgage beef of it all, this game does mean a lot for the Suns, who are 10 games over 500, but it also means a lot for the Cavs, Gil. Cavs are 29-20 right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 6 straight. Now, they've won 5 straight. Now, you look at the teams that they beat. They beat the Hornets, which, hey, that's kind of a good win right now, right? At Charlotte. But then they beat the Kings. They beat the Magic twice in one of those weird road home splits where they played the same team 2 games in a row. Then they beat those frauds, the Lakers, right? They beat them by 30. Of course, at home in LeBron's return, where it was deemed Donovan Mitchell's city by Jalen Tyson.
And they played mental warfare by playing that video and
had him crying.
For sure. You look even beyond that.
His all uniforms.
Yes.
He forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They lost to the Thunder before their winning streak started. Okay, that makes sense. They beat the Sixers back-to-back, and then they lost to the Jazz 10 games ago, which is not the best loss in the world. But when Phoenix played Cleveland at the end of 2025. Cleveland was in a much different place. They were playing very out of sorts. But recently, Gil, they've just been playing really well, and it's ironic because they've also been really shorthanded.
Right. We looked at their injury report. You talk about the fact that they don't have Evan Mobley, no Darius Garland, two guys who have been all-stars, won end-of-year awards and things of that nature. And Evan Mobley just exited the lineup. He's been around, or he was around for 4 of the 5 games during their win streak, but getting it done on both ends of the floor. This is typically a team throughout the first part of the year. We talked about it, and we kind of said it tongue-in-cheek, but also very seriously. It's a team that misses Jordan Knott. The fact that he's not in that locker room anymore and not helping them out, that they miss a little bit of an element of what they are. I think they've kind of settled down a little bit. They've been playing really well during the win streak. Offensive rating 119.4, defensive rating 104.3. So they're getting it done on both ends of the floor, but it's really Donovan Mitchell. 32 points per game during this win streak. And Jalen Tyson has stepped up as well. I think he's been a revelation for them this year. So those two guys, obviously Donovan Mitchell is going to get his, but can you limit a guy like Jalen Tyson who has stepped up and done a lot of the things that picking up the slack, whether it's playmaking with Garland out, whether it's a little more rebounding with Mobley out, and he's a guy who I think everything kind of is an X factor type guy for Cleveland.
They're kind of very. I mean, they're very similar, these two teams in the way that they compete. Similar coaches, obviously. It comes from the Kenny Atkinson tree. You look at this and you can respect what Cleveland's trying to do, and the way they play and how they had that success, and you can see the way that the Suns are trying to play. And I think that's why this is going to be a much more interesting matchup than we saw the first time. But Cleveland's playing extremely well right now.
Yeah, Cleveland's playing really well, but like you mentioned, they are missing Jordan Knott. It hasn't been as good of a season as they had last year, and yeah, they've turned things around recently, but they were playing about 500 ball for a good part of 2025. Kenny Atkinson talked about Jordan Knott pregame.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's evolved. I remember when Mike D'Antoni was here and everybody, you just played pick and roll and you stood in your spot and you spotted up. Now, different teams have different principles on how they move, and it's completely changed. And with it, I think offensive have gotten even better because now you're just not in a static shell, Now that shell moves, so when there's a pick and roll or anything, all of a sudden you got all these moving parts, what makes it a lot harder to defend. And what people don't realize too about all the movement, it also creates offensive rebounding opportunities. Because if you're just spaced on a perimeter, it's obviously larger distance, harder to get there. If you're cutting through, moving through, the ball goes up, you have a greater chance for offensive rebound. So looks like the Suns have figured that out pretty clearly. But Jordan's done an amazing job. I said it in Cleveland. I'll say it again. I think they're the hardest playing team in the league. That's just what I see, bar none. They play harder than anybody. That's why they're, having a great season. Obviously, Dillon coming in, sparks that, and Devin has always been a hard playing dude, but now it's they're 1 through 15 where they play extremely hard. We better come out and play at a high level, compete at a high level. If we don't, you could you see what happened to Detroit last night.
Yeah, I can't wait till the end of the year where we can take a tally of how many opposing coaches say that this is the hardest playing team in the NBA. That's the highest compliment you can pay a team, and that's why they were able to win the way they did last night. And if they are able to win tonight, it would be because of effort. This is a Cavs team who, while red hot, this is the first game of a 5-game road trip. And as a team on the West Coast, you oftentimes see that. Teams at the beginning of their trip or the end of their trip, and they're feeling things out. They just traveled out here from Cleveland, had an emotional game earlier in the week. So getting Jalen Green back and adding that boost a little bit, but also having the opportunity to just have that identity and kind of, again, be the aggressors, be the ones that hit first for a team who is kind of getting their bearings. I think that's the path to victory for the Suns tonight.
Well, Eric, you got the chance to catch up with Kenny at Summer League, and he said, a lot of the same things, glowing stuff about Jordan Knott and his approach. So
well, and the question that I asked him that really stood out was the fact, a lot of people were talking about how Jordan Knott kind of got the job because he was a Michigan State guy, and actually Matt Ishbia talked to Zach Lowe about that. We don't have the clip, but Matt Ishbia kind of confirmed this is a guy that's earned it. And Kenny actually like laughed at me, not like at me, although it might have been at me. But he laughed. He was like, no, like that's a guy that deserved it. And funny enough, like they had 2 Cavs assistant coaches go for this job. Jordan got it. And Kenny's like, the cream always rises to the top, right? Which again, I don't think that was meant as a diss, but it is sort of like Kenny clearly had a very high opinion of Jordan Ott. And if you look at what the Suns are doing and where the Cavs have struggled this year, it's pretty clear that they have not found the best way to utilize it when their guys are fully healthy. Even though Mobley has been there, it's been him and Jared Allen kind of taking turns, taking over. A lot of times it was, okay, if Donovan Mitchell has a really great scoring night like he has in the last 5 games, okay, then that's great. Last year, what was it? A lot more of a balanced approach. You couldn't really figure out how to stop the Cavs. And now with the Suns this year, completely different roster. But at the same time, like it's kind of death by committee instead of, okay, Devin Booker has to go out there and score 30, which is kind of similar to what the Cavs story has been. So I'm sure they'd like to have him back for sure, but he's ours. So back off. Obviously tonight, it'd be great to pick up a win against the Cavaliers, against Jordan Ott's former team, who he is yet to pick up a win against as a head coach. But how much of a must win is it? Let's take a look at our must-win meter. Again, one of our lower ones of the season. I'm at a very low 7. Gil at a 6. Steven at a 6.5. Me and Steven have been in like lockstep recently. Very aligned. Ayrton with a 5. Espo, you're at a 1. Why is it so low? I thought the Mortgage Beef Bowl would fire you up a little more.
It would have been a 10 if they had lost last night, but you had such a good win last night, a great approach to that game without Book, without Jalen Green. You go out there and you beat the number 1 team in the East. I think it gives you a little leeway coming in today. Plus, you've got Jalen trying to figure things out. I'll go with a 1. Now, in the Suns want meter, this is a 10 in wanting to win.
The SWW.
Yes, but in a must, it's a 1 for me.
I went 6. Something that stood out last night from the post-game social media stuff, when the team was walking off the court, Dillon Brooks said, we got our revenge from Detroit. And I think that the last game on New Year's Eve is on the minds of these guys, how that game got away from them and it wasn't their best showing. We talked about it. It was you and I, Espo, and it was an early afternoon games for us, but for them as well. And they just were sleepy. And I think that they feel like they didn't put their best foot forward. And I also think that it means a lot for these guys to win one for Jordan against his former team. So not crazy high, but 6 would be nice to get greedy here.
The Suns haven't lost a ton of games when they've played a team twice. They've lost to Houston 3 times this season. Obviously, it's a really bad matchup. They've lost to Denver twice. They did lose to OKC twice. They ended up beating them the 3rd time that they played, so you can kind of put that one off to the side. But Detroit, they bounced back and they won. They beat the Knicks twice when they played them the 2nd time. When they played the Clippers again, obviously different circumstances, but they beat them back-to-back after getting blown out earlier in the season. Same thing with the Jazz. They came back and they won. They've beaten the Spurs twice. So when they play a team a 2nd time, they usually do a pretty good job. One of the reasons why I'm a little bit higher on this is because the rest of the West continues to win. LA is beating the brakes off of Washington right now in the 4th quarter right now. So LA would be a half a game above you for the 6th seed if they win that game. And then if you lose, that's a full game in the play-in, which is tough. You're still only a half a game back from Minnesota, a full game back from Houston, and 3 games back from Denver in the 3 seed. So you don't really have a lot of room to lose because Golden State hasn't fallen off a cliff yet. They're only 2.5 games behind you. They play the Pistons tonight, who, maybe that's not great for the Warriors, but they keep on finding ways to win. So you don't really have a lot of room to lose. So every game is going to be relatively high for me just because every game you lose could be the difference between getting a top 6 seed and having to earn it in the play-in come March.
I think that's fair.
April.
And if we're
April.
If we're basing it on that, then every night is a 10. There's
now you're talking.
Let's be realistic. In the West, there's not a lot of wiggle room. So if we're basing it solely on that, it's a 10. Sunday, regardless of what happens tonight, is a 10 for me because it's the Clippers. It's a team that's behind you. You got to make sure that they stay behind you, those kind of things. So whether it's, if we're judging it the way you're talking, it's always a 10. And then we might as well just not do the meter because we're all a 10
sounds like the
all
best
the
reason
time.
to do the meter. There you go, Kara. Every night is a 10.
So then why don't we just put it at a 10? We don't each
Now you're
individually
talking.
do it, and we do it as a bit.
Those who have been following along, this has been the long game. All last season, I was like, Steven, is tonight a must win? Is tonight a must win? Is tonight a must win? And all season he would tell me no. And now my agenda is thriving. Just putting Steven at a 10 on a must win meter every single night. Sounds perfect to me.
By the way, Craig, I'm not taking off my shoes and giving you free toe picks because you're a weirdo. There's no nail polish on the toes, all right? He's trying to claim I'm jinxing him by having nail polish on.
There are a surprisingly, I don't say large amount, but surprisingly more people than you would imagine that come in here asking for us to show our feet.
It's
on a yearly
uncomfortably
basis.
so. Like, you know,
If you super chat enough money.
Hey, if you become a supporters club member,
Members
maybe
only
that's a members only content.
Now we are dipping our toes, pun intended, into water we probably don't want to. Let's get to our keys, of course, presented by SPG. Key number 1, take care of the rock / paint touch decision making. I love when he fits 2 keys in one. Key number 2, neutralize the 3-point line. And key number 3, pick and roll defensive activity. Gil, where does your mind go first out of these 4 keys?
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
I'll go with the pick and roll defensive activity, and I think more so than just activity is it's physicality. This is a Cavs team who, people call them soft every now and then, and this is a hard playing Suns team. So if you're physical with those guys on the screens and you make them feel you defensively, we've talked so much about showing bodies elsewhere, and obviously chief among everybody that you're worried about is Donovan Mitchell. You're only going to limit him but so much, but everybody else, if you make them feel you a little bit and make them a little more uncomfortable defensively, I think that you'll have a good outcome.
Yeah, I feel like Steven's keys are kind of like that janitor key ring where there's just so
There's
many
way
of
more
them
than
on
3.
there. But I think the pick and roll defensive activity is going to be important tonight, and making sure that you're positioned right. This defense is predicated so much of what they've done this year, and it was such a big part of why they won last night. You got to have that clean.
This is a big night for the center rotation. The last time they played the Cavaliers, they combined Oso Guidaro and Mark Williams for a grand total of 2 points. 2 points between both of them. Mark Williams had 2. Oso had 0. Want to know how many rebounds? Well, Mark had 9. Oso only had 1 rebound. So 2 points, 10 rebounds between 2 of your centers. You look at Jared Allen, dropped 16 and 11 on the Suns' head last game. Now, Evan Mobley also had 16 and 10. AT&T reliability there. He just does the same thing every single game.
No free ads.
It's a nickname for him, but yes, no free ads. But Jared Allen is the type of center that we've seen Mark Williams struggle with. We've seen him struggle with Jalen Duren. So I do wonder how is he going to fare tonight on the second night of a back-to-back. Did find in the rebounding department, we just got basically played off of the court last game. And Cleveland scored 37 points in the first quarter last time. So come out with a purpose, make a statement, just like what I'm trying to do tonight with our picks. Presented by our friends over at Bet365. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, prayer props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit promgambling.az.gov. Sounded like I said prayer props. That's because I need one. Negative.
We all do at this point.
Yeah, Ayrton hit his bet last time, so I'm the negative. Espo negative 120. I'm negative 201. Gil's a plus 4362. Let's rapid fire through here so we can get to our watch along, which make sure everybody here is jumping over to after this. Gil, what are you putting your money on?
Oh, pretty simple. Donovan Mitchell 25 plus points. Oso over 12.5 PRA. Colin Gillespie 10 plus points, and Jordan Goodwin 3 plus rebounds. I'm just betting on Oso being a beneficiary of Jalen Green. That's plus 220 with a 50% profit boost.
I like that. Espo?
I went simple. Jalen Green, 25 plus points, plus 1,000. Let's roll it.
We've seen him do it once this season. I don't know if he'll do that, but I'm betting on Jalen Green too. Actually, no, I'm not. That was for our bets that we put on social. I'm not betting on Jalen Green at all. Grayson Allen over 25.5 PRA. I'm taking Oso Guidaro over 12.5 PRA. Dillon Brooks over half a stock. I'm taking an under.
Whoa.
I'm taking Dillon Brooks under 6.5 assists and rebounds. That was plus money just as his own leg, and he's been actually passing and rebounding the ball really well lately. I think that stops tonight. Give me a plus 725 with a plus 50% profit boost. Ayrton, where are you going?
Looking for another win tonight. Jalen Green on his return, part 3, over 12.5 points. Osa Ighodaro again over 13.5 PRA, and then Colin Gillespie hitting 2 threes. That is plus 340 with a 50% profit boost.
Do we think the Suns are going to win this game? Well, guess what? We'll show you that in our watch along, which you want to make sure that you jump over there right after this. Also follow the show at PHNX_Suns as well on social during the game. I'll give everybody else's socials, but I'll do it during the watch along. We'll see you soon.
Pull up.
We all silly like the mayor.